know, you bet.
Let's do it.
Should we stand for the pledge?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
You're back there with a bad leg.
Take me down.
Brandy, you want to take roll? Chris, you want to take roll? Brian, you want to take roll?
Here.
Yep.
Vice President Furlong,
Here.
Member Matthews,
Here.
Council Representative Cole,
Here.
Mayor Monge,
Here.
and staff and ex officio members present today are Executive Director Frandle, Assistant Treasurer Howe, Business Association Representative Garry,
Here.
and EDA Secretary Cherne.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Member Cole,
Yeah.
second by
Mayor.
Mayor Monge.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion to approve the minutes. Everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
Yep.
Motion to approve.
So move.
Moved by,
Second.
Remember me, John?
yep, no, I'm trying to think title. Mayor Monge and Joe. Meeting open to the public. Anybody here from the public?
Okay.
No one on Zoom, nothing? Okay, we'll get right to business. ED discussion and action items. We got a few items here. ABC, election of the officers, amending the membership, and
Facade improvement.
facade. Facade, I was having a moment there. Facade improvement program. I'll turn it over to Executive Director Frandle.
I think what we need to discuss is, would you have any Why don't you go ahead first, then, please?
Okay, sure. The staff report that's included in your EDA packet was presented to the City Council on February 20th. So the information that's included within the packet summarizes the beginning of the EDA, the purpose of the EDA, the proposal that was put on the table by the mayor to modify the membership of the EDA to transition it from this body to be the city council. There were some discussions between the city attorney and staff. And so from those discussions, I was directed to put together the city council packet, which included resolutions to modify the EDA membership to transition it to city council, and then to establish an economic development commission in its place. So the commission would be a recommending authority, not an authority, a recommending body to the city council, the EDA. And so it was my understanding that there was some additional conversation that was intended to be had at this meeting to get your feedback on that proposal.
This happened in February?
This conversation was put on the February city council agenda.
Got it.
It's my understanding this has kind of been in the works for a couple of months. I haven't been heavily involved in the back channel conversations, but what's presented is what was provided by the city attorney.
So there was, I mean, we had discussion back when Robert Dew had kind of ended his term, but we haven't really formally, I think as a group, really talked about it. So I think that would be, is that what we're going to do right now then? Is
Correct. I don't know that this body has actually had any conversation about this at all. It was discussed briefly at city council, and city council decided this really needs to be discussed at the EDA level first.
So for clarity, we're moving to item B. We're moving item B ahead of item A on our agenda.
That is what it seems to be happening, yes.
Okay.
For the elections, you have to decide which direction. Make sense?
Yeah,
Well, if you would like to have this conversation first, I think that makes sense.
yep.
And I think kind of the analysis is what when I was reading it today, with EDA is on this side in the packet, and then the EDC is on the other side. How it's laid out, the difference between the duties and powers and things like that, just to get an understanding of after we had, some people that retired off of it and left, was trying to figure out the best way to go forward and get more of an understanding of the role between the EDA. I reached out to a few of our neighboring, Oakdale, Woodbury, Maplewood. The EDA is the council, and then they have the EDC, which is their advisory. Then they meet on a quarterly basis or whatever to be able to go through different items and things like that as far as, and if you look on the side, make recommendations, economic development, redevelopment projects is the EDC. So that's the difference between the two. So thought it'd be good to have a conversation to see what looks best going forward for us as a group.
Yep, and I guess I'll put my 2 cents in. I was on the EDC for the city of Oakdale. And that body, met the needs of the city, and I believe the city council was the EDA. My only concern right now is that being on the EDA for, when did we start that? How many years ago?
09 is what the,
09.
yeah, said.
We've, as a body, EDA authority, with me being on as a council rep and then also as the mayor on there, I guess we've done so much the last 8 years, 10 years, since we've had the EDA. I don't know why we need to change it now. I don't know if that's, should be a priority for the council or not. I mean, I'm just trying to think it through that since we have done, so much and we have a good history, the EDA has had a good history. The city council has always been the kind of the last body that has given their approval from the EDA. Everything from the EDA would always go to the council, so the council would typically have the last final say in whatever we did. So I'm just wondering, do we need to change?
Well, part of it is that we can meet on a not as regular basis. You're gonna be taken off for 4 months. We have Joe here. We have to try to get a group together as far as that. And I think we can do that as far as advisory, but be able to do any kind of the day-to-day or some of these other things that need to be done for motions and stuff as the EDA as well. So I don't see a huge difference between the two when I was looking it over as far as that, because as you said, it came back to the council, like you said, as a final thing anyway. So can we get enough together and be able to have the secretary, the treasurer and everything else to be able to run it that direction still?
So maybe we should look at, let's fill up the EDA. I mean, let's fill up the, whatever it's gonna be, get the people in place before we act on it. I don't know if I'm gonna be here much longer because of, like you say, I'm gone for 4 months. What is that gonna look like? I'm not sure, but, maybe we need to fill those spots first and then decide after that, unless it's a big hurry to do it.
Well, it's not, we just haven't been able to get together as far as that, and Joe and I, we discussed, the difference between the two as well, and, the
I think,
preference.
so I'll put my 2 cents in. Let's take these 2 categories out. I think there's one big fundamental difference from the operation of the EDA moving forward. And when the authority was put into place in 09, I've been in the city now 8.5 years. In my opinion, there was an exceptionally strong EDA board that got a lot done. Some of those people have surpassed their term. They're gone now. There were, specifically, I think Robert Dew was a big part of that formation that's taken place in the city, from able to get stuff done, but then the knowledge part of it, which was extremely beneficial to the city of North St. Paul. Whatever direction we decide to go, whether it's an authority or a commission, there has to be a new cheerleader for the EDA. Has to be. That's the number one thing, in my opinion, moving forward. Whether it's filling seats, I mean, we could have 10 people volunteering their time, but if we don't have the right cheerleader moving forward, doing these tasks and bringing, agendas or discussions that we need to make, it's going to filter out. So I think that's the number one topic is who's that person, or how do we move the EDA forward? Because if we don't have that person to capture this knowledge of what we're trying to do, it's going to die off. So in my opinion, that's the number one thing that we need to tackle is answering that question, how we're going to move forward.
I think we're probably all of like mind, but I think you and I probably align very close. When it comes to whether the EDA becomes a function of council or whether the EDA remains its own separate entity, we need a cheerleader.
Yeah.
We need, whether it be a full-time employee in the city, that's their responsibility to attend franchise shows, talk to restaurant owners, talk to wherever the sources of information are coming from, or if there is a third party that is available that can be a representative of the city at any and every one of the expos, or wherever businesses could come from. We do need a strong cheerleader. Speaking from council, I don't have time. Your council member don't have the time, in all honesty, the bandwidth or the knowledge of the EDA. So whatever the decision forward is, either that committee's got to be strong with a strong cheerleader advocate that has measurable objectives as far as bringing things to the city. Whatever it comes out with, I'm fine with. But to your point, I think that's the number one thing that we need as a city. We have a phenomenal opportunity ahead of us right now. We've got, 510 new housing openings that have happened over the last 2 years. We've got the Sentinel, the Lilly Building is going to have another, I don't know what the number ended up at, somewhere in the 80s. We now have a relatively dense population in our downtown environment. And from a lot of the studies that we had presented to council over the years, it's the chicken or the egg. We can't get the businesses because the population wasn't there. We've got the population. Now we need somebody ringing the bell for the city to bring the businesses in. You drive around a lot of the communities that are out there, and there's a lot of really cool little 10, 12-seat restaurants that are in smaller communities. Why not North St. Paul? What are we doing? There was a distillery in Minneapolis that lost their license. Why not North St. Paul? There's things out there. We also need to figure out what the residents, want for services and other things. The council agreed with the developers of the Lilly Building that we would assist them in filling the live to work or whatever the ground level units were, and that the city would aid in helping them fill those. And if we aren't able to do it after 1 year of, my assumption is they're ribbon cutting or whenever their first resident moves in, I don't know when the clock starts, they can convert those back to residential. So we now have the dense population. We have the storefronts available to put them in. We have, key individuals in the city who own a lot of property that the EDA should be working with them. What are they doing to help develop their spaces? Are they even interested in developing those spaces? That's a full-time job, in my opinion.
There's no question about it. There's no question about it, and you know, my, Mayor Monge and I, well, it was probably a couple months ago, you and I had a good talk about this. I couldn't agree, you know, more. You know, it's your responsibility at the end of the day to fill the EDA spots, or you vote them in, correct? I mean, it's your, and it goes back to what I mentioned before. There was a strong EDA, and that's my opinion. Not that, I'm not saying that we're strong, but we don't carry the knowledge that some of the EDA members had previous to us. I mean, that's a fact. There's nothing wrong with that. But we do, one of our strong components is we're giving back and we care about moving the ship forward. But from a knowledge standpoint, we need a strong advocate and a strong cheerleader that knows the ins and outs of these topics. Have to. Otherwise, this will die off, which I don't want to see.
Yep.
Whether it's a authority or a commission, you guys. The two things, in my opinion, take this stuff out, you know, the difference between working with the cities that I do, the authority and commission. One's kind of in control of a budget, has a little more authority, and the other one doesn't. So in some scenarios I've seen over the last eight and a half years, where council and an authority are in complete separate wavelengths of how to attack projects, that's where sometimes the authority can come into being more positive, because that money's separate. They control that money, the authority, even though the council has the final say at the end. From my understanding, is that money is always separate. The council can't just say, hey, we're going to take the money from the authority and we're going to spend it. They can't do that. So that's really the fundamental principles at the end of the day. And the only time I've seen that become an issue is when you have very, very opposite agendas from the council to an authority is the money situation. But
Yeah, and part of it too was that October meeting, it got pretty contentious between, and it was a plan that was, you know, looking to go forward but didn't, and then it was, I thought felt like there was people out there saying, you know, we need to be able to control that type of thing, and it got to be where, you know, quite contentious between the two.
are we talking parking lot
No,
or across the street?
The car condo.
Sure.
What was said, there was a lot of stuff that was, you know, talked about, and a lot of, and there was some hurt feelings.
Yep.
And we got very frustrated where one quit right there and the other one, you know, was, you know, retired, so just trying to see what the best way to go forward is.
And that's going to happen.
It's gonna happen. And I think that, you know, going back to what you're saying about the institutional knowledge of this board brought a lot of development to the downtown, you know, the Anchor Block site, you know, it was the EDA authority that was able to do a lot of the studies, a lot of the things that, you know, the council being that, I don't think they would be able to do that, you know. I think it happens quicker at the authority part here, that we're able to do it quicker, and we've got the institutional people that know how to do it. And I think we got a void right now. We need a couple more people on here that offer some of that institutional knowledge as a authority, and I agree, we do need a cheerleader that is helping us and is also helping the council. So I don't know where that brings us, you know, if it's the commission or authority, or do we wait, do we get the people in and let's see how, it, you know, run it that way, and then see.
I'm for just, you know, if we can get people placed, you know, I've been asking questions, I've been asking around, we, discuss, see what we can do
Yep.
with the business communities to get more in there, so. I've been asking around, I just haven't had much luck yet.
Sure.
And I don't know, we're gonna put it in, but I don't think we did yet, just because we weren't sure what the flux of this was. If I remember right. As far as announcements, is that correct, Chris?
Correct. We have not advertised for those positions.
We have not advertised, so we don't have anything else.
Yeah, it's just been, we're asking.
So
Just kind of a, kind of the, Mr. Cole, Mr. Monge, so kind of that October meeting, the EDA meeting, when this first came up, and then kind of more understanding, once the council understood kind of their direction, I think kind of more felt on their end like, whoa, wait a minute here. I don't know if we want to take this on either. Is that kind of your guys' feeling as well taken on? That's just watching the videos and interpretations was, well, maybe this would be a good thing to turn the EDA into a commission. And then once some of the council found out, not more responsibility, but more understanding of what it would look like for them to make some of the decisions. There was a little backtrack of confidence moving forward.
Well,
Is that fair to say?
Well, it was just the same thing, you just, not having the expertise.
Yeah,
behind it.
yeah.
And part of it after the meeting was, there was gonna be, is it going to be, with some of the wishes when I spoke to some of the people on the EDA, is us just take over the projects and take over this, and then we'll do it. Then it became, well, when we brought up a few things, and then when the council didn't, was down, 3-2, that they didn't, want that, then it got to be contained, between it, and then it was like, then it felt like there's gonna be a power play. It was like,
Right.
okay, well, we'll take over it, we'll do this, so then it was like, is that something we wanna see? And that's what I was looking at.
Okay.
I don't know, you can answer where you.
And I don't remember 100% of the conversation, and I don't remember exactly my full opinion, but if I recall correctly, to me, it didn't necessarily matter, kind of similar to the point that I'm at today, whether it be an EDA or an EDC. The most important thing moving forward is, if it's an EDA, what does the EDC look like, and who is going to be our city cheerleader and drive it forward? If the EDA was to become council and all we were to do were, in essence, follow the same responsibilities that were up there under the, when it was EDA council, and approve or disapprove or add comment to projects, that's fine, but I think I heard loud and clear that the current council doesn't have time to go solicit, talk to businesses and do those types of things, nor do, really any of us have that in our professional portfolio of what we do outside of city. So I don't know if I really got a clean direction. I just, I think that's why we've continued to loop back through that conversation. Does that sound close, John?
It does.
Okay.
I agree with that, because we were trying to see, this is the day-to-day, the work of it is the authority side of it, where if we had a commission where they were out there doing that, and then we could take care of the votes if there needs to be done during like we did with the HRA. We just had one, we logged out, we logged in as the HRA, we did 5 minutes, and then we moved on. That was it. But then trying to get it, and then the delay that I heard was, well, then you guys didn't meet, then we don't meet for a month, and then it becomes this, we're out 3 months, and then people are mad that things are falling out, where it probably could have just been a vote that way too. So that's where I was looking at it.
And
That's
then
why I wanted to talk with everybody.
And I would say, during the last 5 years, there are times when, like Robert and myself, would meet with business owners who are potentially coming in to the city, on our own. And there's times that, people thought there were secret meetings or anything, That's not true. There are businesses that potentially could come into the city that don't want to be known.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want people to know that they're looking at the city. As a commission, I don't know if that same story would be, or, I don't know. I don't know if that would make a difference at all. But what we were doing back then, you know, we were kind of the cheerleaders
Sure.
of bringing in businesses. We also, the EDA was able to do a lot of the studies, you know, do a lot of the legwork in order to get a lot of these projects, information, whether or not they're gonna be good projects or not. Those were pretty expensive studies that the EDA was able to do. And again, it's institutional people on the board who, you know, who understand it. You know, a lot of times I don't understand half the stuff. You know, you gotta get the right people in here. So it worked. I mean, the authority worked for us, and it worked to allow us to get what has happened downtown and in the acre site and all that. And it's always been, I know that last project, it went back to you guys, and you disapproved of it, but at the end of the day, you guys have the council has the last say. It shouldn't matter to us if it comes back to us. I mean, it shouldn't have to come back to us. You guys have the end say. So I've always been in the assumption that if you guys don't agree with it, that's fine.
Oh,
And-
that's
and
what
we
we
move-
thought, but
and-
it was a little
and-
bit different at the end there, but yeah,
Yeah, but it,
we can get there.
so,
Okay. Well, then, I kinda like the idea, let's just get the butts in the seats, and then, because we can all figure that part out once we get to it.
I would agree.
I'm okay, I'm fine with that, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's
I mean,
more,
it's not, we're not, nobody's trying to pay a power play on either side, it's just, we wanna make sure we can run smooth, and we're not delaying, and that we, you know, we have, you know, control over it.
And you mentioned just a minute ago that you've reached out to a few people. I'd love to help you out with that.
Oh, yeah, we discussed that, you know, being
I
a part of
I
business.
didn't want to, I don't know when that, the green light was approved by the mayor, but
Well, let's get it in the.
try and, one of the last things I think we really don't want is, we already have lost momentum,
correct.
and we will continue to lose momentum. But let's try and stall this thing a little bit. Let's stall this thing and try to get it moving forward.
So, quick question for you, and just thinking out loud, and maybe even to you more, Terry, is that as someone who's been on a commission, or an authority and a commission, would it matter to you? I mean, if we're going out and saying, look, we need members, because right now, as it stands, we would say we need more EDA members. Do you think they would still have the same interest in it if we're saying, well, you're going to be EDA now, it might be a commission later? Is that can be an issue, do you feel?
I think John is right, that they mirror each other. It just depends on, if we have a really good cheerleader, I think it takes a lot of pressure off of what goes on between the two. Does that make sense? Who's ever doing the legwork for the city, bringing it to us, if it's a commission or authority, all I know is history, we've done a lot of work, and the authority worked. And I've been on the commission, and it worked too, so.
That wouldn't turn you away to think that I'm joining an
I don't
authority?
think anybody would
and-
turn away, whether, you know, one or the other.
No, we can just be upfront, we're looking at, you know, seeing what works best for the city, you know, we're looking for mostly good people to join, and, you know, we work together, and like Terry said, you know, it's, either way, it's the council's decision, you know, at the end, so we just have to understand where it is. I think once people get it, there's not a huge difference, so we get it in there. I'm for that.
Do the bylaw might not be the correct term, but do the the overseeing document over the EDA, I believe I read that the members either need to be residents or business owners. Can we get clarity on that? And
So as the,
can we potentially expand that? For example, if we sit here together and collectively decide, well, we really need a commercial realtor, would add value to our group. I'm spitballing. Do we have to find a commercial realtor within our community or that owned a business in our community? Or could we talk to somebody else who may have an interest in helping North St. Paul develop? I mean,
so I know as the authority, we had people outside of the community that were part of the initial, Rich McNamara.
Okay.
He was the past assistant city manager at Oakdale, lived in St. Paul, but he was on the authority. So I'm assuming that we're able, as the authority, I don't know what the commission looks like, but the authority, we did have outside people that were not business people and not residents, but had that institutional knowledge, that really helped. He really helped in a lot of ways.
So for clarity then, moving forward, we are staying as an EDA. We're not looking into the commission as right now. We're looking into memberships to fill our 7 voting body panel. And we can advertise it that way.
That sound right?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Then we can decide what works best for everybody when it comes to that. Let's just get the people in.
And I would like to make one correction. We got a paper back from our attorney, and a wrong number was put in there. It said, I know we're not going with the commission, but it said commission membership of 3, and that was a misprint. And we'll still go back to try to be 7 either way, but just wanted to let you know that was a misprint in there.
Just gonna say, we're perfect then. Yeah. We got nothing more to do.
One of us has to
We're good. See you guys.
Overachievers.
So I guess, like to meet with John and let's get some names out there and let's, get some people that we feel that could be potential
Yeah.
candidates.
I've heard some good ones that have businesses in towns, newer businesses, so, a
Yep.
bunch of them down there, and businesses there, we got a lot of businesses, we should be able to
Yep.
get quite a few in here.
Good.
Great.
Do we want to open dialogue around what the EDA would look like going forward? Do we still want to state that we have monthly meetings? Do we want to state that we have every other month and ad hoc if needed? These may be questions coming up as we solicit additional people to be on the EDA. I mean, we talked about, I think, when it was going to roll to the commission, we'd meet quarterly. Or the council, I'm sorry. But do we want to put some guardrails around what would that look like now before something goes out, on the city
soliciting the right
website?
information.
Yeah. Am I looking at 12 meetings? Am I looking at 6 meetings? Am I looking at 4 meetings? Do we want to have that conversation and dialogue?
I mean, to me, I think quarterly would be fine.
The way we had discussed it before was quarterly, and then
Is there-
as needed, if something came up.
Is there anything that has to happen on a more regular basis, like we do with HRA, we just gotta vote for something quick, or is that?
At times, we may need to get together to do that. Yep.
Set
That's
up a
where the,
special meeting or
yeah, that's
whatever.
where the commission goes, then you don't have to worry about that as far as that, because then it would be having to grab everybody for that, so. We'll work our way to that and see what happens. Also, time-wise, I know for me, it's really hard to get here at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that something is everybody set to doing it during normal hours, or, business hours, or?
Not now. No, I'm fine now.
4 o'clock.
Come basketball season next year, then it's an issue. We're fine right now.
Okay,
I think our number one priority, guys, is filling these seats.
yeah.
So we can talk about quarterly, yearly.
Okay.
Let's put one thing on the agenda right now,
But I think with that though is, very important to me, if you're gonna ask me to be on an EDA or an EDC, is what time are the meetings? I can't make them at 4 o'clock as mayor. I mean, it's hard for me to try to get here during work hours. I work from 8 to 5. So then I gotta jockey around. So a lot of times when you ask people if they can meet during times, I can meet during work hours or I can't meet. So we have to, and that's a big thing to try to figure out before we ask people too. If everybody's okay with during business hours or if evenings work okay. That's kind of what I was getting to that.
Got it.
Because you might turn around, I can't do it before 5 o'clock, so I'm out. Or I can do it and I'm fine with that, so. How do you do getting here?
How do I do?
You do, yeah. As far as getting during the work hours.
4 o'clock is a heck of a lot easier to hit than 3.
Yep.
I'll tell you that.
Yep, I was happy to hear that.
I can scoot out an hour early a lot easier than I can basically carving out, depending on where I'm at, 15 to 30 minutes to get here, to be here by 3 o'clock. So I'm of the belief, and I shouldn't put words in Brian's mouth, it's easier for staff to be here during more work hours than non-work hours. So 4 o'clock to me works way better than 3 o'clock
Yep,
works.
3 o'clock
But
doesn't work.
yeah, I'm an opinion of one, so.
Yeah, because before it was the 3 and it was really tough. So 4 o'clock, I can do my lunch hour, which I'm doing right now, at the end of the day here. Took my lunch.
Talk to Andrew.
Oh, we don't have any candy for you.
I can't even get there. All right,
So
thanks.
4 o'clock,
4 o'clock.
4:30, 4,
I think
Or it'd be nice.
4 would be nice, yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's enough where you're getting towards the end of the day. People can duck out, grab a late lunch or do whatever. But, anything earlier, that's why I unfortunately can't make it to the business association. I'd love to, but it's just really hard.
And there was a time that we did it quarterly with the EDA
Yeah.
until everything was happening downtown. Then we revved it up and had more meetings. And that worked out good, the quarterly.
Yeah, there's no reason.
And if something comes up, you have a special meeting, you're here for half an hour, and
Oh,
that's it.
I think we can figure out the time and quarterly and say as needed if there's something that pops up. I think that gives somebody an opportunity to think about, yeah, I can do that, or no, well, every month I can't do it. So if we could start with quarterly at 4 o'clock, we all got to be saying this on the same sheet of music. So when we're asking people, that people understand. So I'm good with quarterly at 4 PM.
Okay.
You too?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Just out of curiosity, I know there's sometimes with other meetings that we plan that with more advanced notice, it's easier to get away. If we did move to quarterly, is it still recommended to start at 4? Or being that there's further distance between each other as far as planning it out, or is it still better later at 4 than at?
Still later, because my
Okay.
work day every day is still 5, so I gotta, hope they're not watching TV and I'm working.
Where's your lunch?
I should be eating when I'm here, right?
Watching basketball?
Yeah. So I still think 4 o'clock would be, I know it kind of dips into towards the end of the day, but it'd be pretty hard.
No problem.
Okay, done with that?
Do we need a resolution to adopt what we've just kind of discussed? Do we just run with it?
I think we're,
I think we have our direction. We can do, the plan is that we will advertise for 3 more positions, voting positions. And when do you want to start implementing quarterly?
Once we get a full table.
I
January.
was just gonna say, yeah.
Do you want to keep it at monthly until we get full group and then go to quarterly, or I guess that's more?
Can I interrupt?
Oh, please.
I'm looking at our code of ordinances and under administration for the EDA, the authority shall meet quarterly and at such other times as necessary, so it already is, that's an option to do.
we're already set up for
Yep.
quarterly.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Good catch.
Why'd you work them so hard?
We're that good, we're that good.
Like I said, it used to be quarterly, and then it turned monthly, and, boy. Okay,
I mean, for me, I'm ready to move to quarterly whenever. I would love
well, how does that fit on the quarterly in the calendar year?
the last
right
month
now?
of every quarter, do middle month of every quarter, do we want to just pick a?
If I could offer a suggestion, the last month of every quarter, I think would be appropriate for us now, given we're in March. Also, 2 months will give us time to fill the seats, hopefully, and then we can start off strong in June or whatever the next meeting would be.
I would like to suggest, though, that we have another one in a month, only because we haven't gone through any of the open, and I don't see them on the agenda, any of the open topics that we currently have. You know, maybe by then we'll have the opportunity. Again, I would still love to push for, you know, either a full-time city employee whose responsibility it is to solicit businesses to come in, or staff helps us find a third party. Maybe we just have one more meeting to kind of kick that off, and then it would be another 2 months before we had a meeting, and then it would be quarterly after that. I don't know. What's everybody else think?
Can I interject before you get the other opinions, just for the sake that for budgeting issues, I'd like to have a conversation with Dan about that as well, just so we can see what the funding aspect of it is.
Well, from a funding aspect of it, EDA already pays for 50% of one full-time employee.
And part of mine, part of Chris's, is so if
We pay for you too?
I think a fraction of it, but, so if we then shift the funds from that to then another person, especially if you're gonna hire a person, then that shifts that to a general fund amount of money, and you're talking over $50,000-$60,000, so I think that part needs to be addressed.
And I believe the EDA levy is enough to cover, we levy.
Oh, yeah.
200,000 a year.
Yep, but just wanna make sure that we're upfront.
Right now, is it 50% plus? What is the total percent?
You're 60%, correct?
I'd have to look at the budget.
Is that 50?
I thought it was 50.
And then there's a percentage for Chris, and there's a percentage for me.
Chris volunteers?
Chris is underpaid.
He's getting overtime, so he doesn't mind.
Well, that's where, you know, because, yeah, taking on another body, we definitely got to understand
The finances of it, yeah, I just want to clear.
That's where a third party comes in.
and see where everything's divided up and what we have for it.
And I just looked to the benefit of what the Port Authority brought. Within 45 days, we had basically closure of bringing on a third party to help find somebody for the Lily building.
Can you go through that a little bit with, I wasn't here for that, so I'd
Yeah,
like to understand.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
I'll give the floor to Terry.
So we were in negotiations with the Lilly property owners, and the city was very close to not purchasing, but getting the authority to, to have a purchase agreement or whatever, or letter of intent. From there, we talked to the Port Authority, and the Port Authority found a potential buyer for the property. So it took us totally out of the equation. They became a agent for the city, and they were the ones that did the transition for the Lilly building to the buyers of the property. Kept us out of the loop.
They really knew what they were doing and had
They knew what
access
they're
to a lot of
doing,
things that we probably don't.
And we can have access to those
Yeah.
anytime.
That's what I keep thinking. There's got to be third-party companies out there like the Port Authority that offer those services, not on an ad hoc basis, but as a salaried, for lack of a better term, monthly basis.
I've heard of the Port Authority in a few of these things, so I didn't understand completely how that works. So they act as the agent, the direct and
They
everything.
act as the facilitator
So
between.
Lilly News sold to the Port Authority, or nope, just they just facilitated. So it was the transaction between the two, but they were just in the middle. Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Kept us out of it.
That's good. Oh, yeah.
Budget numbers. City manager is 10%, community development director 50%, administrative assistant 20%, and deputy clerk 10%, total of 90% full-time employee.
Do you have the dollar figure that goes with that?
No,
Nope. Okay.
not on this page.
It's probably got to be
I
60,
didn't realize
70,
it
80,000
was
even.
high. Is 80,
90%?
Yeah, I didn't realize it
Yeah.
was that high.
Yeah.
So that's good information. Thank you, Brandy.
Yep, it looks like, if I'm reading the budget correctly, the personnel expense for the 2024 approved budget and the EDA is 135,328.
So 135 is, covers,
All of those positions.
and it's 200,000 levy.
What do we get a year for the?
130. 200,000 is what the. levy is,
200,000?
yeah.
Well, it's actually a little more than that, but that was
204 or
budgeted.
something.
$209,907.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I talked over you.
200,907,
Okay, thank you.
and then a $2,000 intergovernmental transfer.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I missed the last one.
2,000 intergovernmental transfer for revenue.
200,000 intergovernment transfer, so that's goes, who's transferring to us?
I'm not sure where it's coming from, but it's listed as a revenue.
So then really 400,000 then as far as,
No, 2,000.
oh, 2,000, I'm sorry, they said 12,000, I'm sorry. So another 200,000 would be nice, but.
Why don't you do my taxes?
Jeez. I hear numbers. Sorry.
Ouch. All right. Move on?
So just to clarify, I'm with Tim on meeting next month, trying to keep this thing going.
I've forgotten what we've talked about. I mean,
What do you,
I know we got a video out there that we need to
Right.
take advantage of, that
Yeah.
we did too, yeah.
what are you thinking?
Yeah,
Take a couple more months off, or
no, I think we can, we've had. so
we've
let's
had a
get-
couple,
Let's, yep.
we've
let's-
had enough time off?
Yep, but let's, when the new members, we're gonna tell them 4 o'clock
Okay.
quarterly as needed if there's other.
All right.
Sound good?
sounds good.
Sorry, sorry,
We're gonna,
we are
next
meeting
month,
next month.
April, we're gonna meet again, just to keep us going, but we're gonna, when we go after, we go try to get people, we're gonna say it's quarterly, 4 PM. Go from there.
Does Thursdays work for everybody, or Wednesdays?
Wednesdays do not work for me.
Okay,
Tuesdays and Thursdays are better.
would the April 25th work?
So are we,
There was something April 12th in here, wasn't there something?
Yeah.
I think?
April 12th is a Friday.
it's a Friday, I have nothing.
March 12th was the date originally for this.
Oh, I thought there was another one at the end of this that said a date, but maybe I was wrong.
I mean, is April 11th, that's too soon, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah, let's go down.
Well, historically, we were the
Second Tuesday of,
every,
yeah.
of every month.
So that'd be the 9th. I think we should look at the 16th or the 23rd, which both of those are Tuesdays.
16th is the city council day.
Okay? Not that day then.
Which one?
16th council.
23rd?
18th would be open, 23rd would work if we want to do an ad hoc day then. For me, anyway, my calendar's available.
Month of April, I got Wilmer and St. Cloud as my territory.
Hotbed.
Yeah, but I'm, 23rd, I think I'll be able to do that. But as I go Superior all the way to Rochester, so I assign months as far as what representatives I'm working with from the company.
Can we come to you?
Yeah, sure. Find me. See if you can find me. How's that?
Should we do the 23rd?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good.
23rd at 4 o'clock.
And Chris, you'll send out a notice?
If I could, clar-
Email, just so everybody's clear.
Yep.
if I could clarify what the other topics are, if any, that you were hoping to discuss.
What were all the open topics that were from our last meeting in October?
Well, it was my understanding that just the facade improvement was really the only open one.
I thought we had a bunch of, I thought we had a handful of items that we reviewed on a monthly.
There was a lot of updates, like we would have the Lilly Building, and there was that site over here on 7th Avenue. We don't really have an update on that.
So, but I think we should, it's my opinion that we list everything that we were talking about just to get our heads back straight, because it may jar another conversation.
Sure.
It'll probably across the street, Margaret Commons, I think the new name is that what it is?
That's the plat, yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
by Triangle Park.
I'm gonna go draw that triangle out for you. It's a triangle.
I guess as a topic item, I would love to, see if there is a third party out there that we could, even, I have no idea if such a thing even exists, so.
I think you could hire consultants to do services like, WSB has an engineer,
Really?
an economic development person on staff. There's,
I'm aware of that.
yeah, there is, we'll do some research and see who else does that.
Thank you. And then new heads. All the confidence in the world that we'll have 3 new bodies here.
Yep.
So that brings us to item A, election of officers. Is this a moot point right now, or should we fill it in and, or wait till we get the other members here?
We've got, from an officer standpoint, president, vice president, and are those the only 2 officers that we currently now vote for?
And treasurer.
The treasurer is,
We learned from Elaine that statutorily, I cannot be the treasurer. I can be assistant treasurer. The treasurer must be an EDA representative.
Did you get,
oh, interesting, is that followed up by Soren?
I was gonna say, did you get the attorneys?
Yeah. Yeah, that has been confirmed.
Oh, it's been confirmed.
But she was the one that brought it to our attention. Really functionally, I would still provide you the same reports.
I was gonna say, there's a big difference between assistant treasurer and treasurer.
Yep.
Treasurer is a title, the assistant treasurer is doing the work.
Okay.
So
So
we
I
have
will reluctantly accept your nomination for
Okay.
assistant treasurer.
reluctant. I don't like numbers.
Do not.
So of course, Tim and I were there, and we have,
We have titles.
yeah, we're already there as far as that position, so we have one.
I don't need any more titles in my life.
I suppose we could leave the treasurer vacant until there's
2
more.
longest tenured,
Do you need me
tenured
to-
members.
Sorry?
Do you want me to be treasurer? Is that help?
No, I think we could probably leave the position vacant until we have somebody assigned, until there's more. But we should probably have a chair. and vice
Treasurer in
chair.
I
training?
can fill it in, but I don't know how long ago.
I think,
Sorry, yes, president and vice
can
president.
we, do we have to have this, or can we wait as far as do we need to have something in place now?
I think your staff would prefer to have the vice president and president positions solidified, but if you prefer to wait, I think we can make that happen.
Well, there's only 2 here that.
There's only 2 here.
Hey, let's get more bodies first,
Got a
please.
coin. Well, I think, I would say just for, I can be president, vice president, until we get the other people in, and then we can always,
Have
That can
another
change.
election?
Yeah, we can do
they
an
could
election.
change.
This sounds, I mean, you're gone in a month and a half.
Right.
This sounds like
You only have
I'm
to be
getting,
president for 1 meeting.
yeah.
I don't know if there's any rule that the mayor couldn't be the vice president or the president. Does that sound familiar, Chris? Do you know?
Yeah, I
I
have
don't
not seen anything prohibiting
Not
it.
it.
Like where this is going.
Okay, let's,
I'll be president. Sure, why not?
Okay.
Till we get in place, let's do that.
I'm not planning on going anywhere, so.
Okay, Vice
we'll
President?
be We'll be fine, sure.
Okay.
We may want to figure that out.
Yep, we'll verify.
Get the big green check.
Yep. Do we have to vote on that?
Aye.
Probably be a good idea.
Motion to approve John Monge as president and Joe Williams?
That would be my middle name. Matthew.
Matthews,
Yeah. Close enough, though.
Matthews as the vice president.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
One of the two is gonna have to vote for himself.
That's it.
I'm so whack here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We got that. Facade improvement program.
Yes, that's the main one.
This is an item that we talked about a few months back. The last time we discussed it, we had a draft program in place. There was some conversation about items that potentially should be ineligible costs. So we decided at that time signage would not be something that we would pay for as part of the facade improvement program. We also agreed that it would be a regular occurring opportunity as opposed to a drop-dead date. So anytime somebody had a project that was eligible, they could submit an application, assuming there's funding. It would come before this body, and you could consider whether it was a appropriate project. The only other thing that's hanging out there is the two-tiered grant opportunity. So there was a suggestion that there would be a mini grant, the dollar amount to be decided, where there would be no requirement for repayment or no match. And the larger tier grant, they would have a one-time match. In other communities, often those larger dollar values are kind of 25,000 and up, and the smaller value would be 1 to 5,000. If this is a conversation that you want to continue, we could do that, or if you think that this is something that might be appropriate to hold until we have the full board, that could also be something to consider. Especially in the sense that we're going to potentially have some budget changes if we're going to hire a consultant or staff that might impact how we would fund the program.
So it's a grant, not a loan?
That's what we had discussed. It used to be a loan.
So the mini one is no match. It's tier 2 for the facade improvement grant is a 1-to-1 match.
Up to probably a certain dollar amount. Yep.
I know it's something we've talked about for a while, getting a facade program. Whether or not, do we want to table this and wait till we get other people on here, or should we, how do you, are we getting requests, you said, for the facade program?
Not lately. I had maybe one inquiry, maybe two last year, but nothing in months.
Yeah, I thought we had one or two that basically that started this conversation again.
Yeah, I think it was the Roddy's, yep.
As far as bringing more information forward as well on budgetary items, would it matter first that we talk to the finance director to find out how is that going to change if the ADA or EDA money is going to go towards a potential employee for this? Then that takes away money from the general fund that then would have to be. So there's going to be swapping of funds there to know what's going to be available if we're going to do these loans and funds, especially if it's a grant type deal that would come from our budget.
Do you think we should have Dan present to us in regards to
At least
what
look
that
at
would,
that.
what that would look
Lay
like?
it out. I think it'd be a good idea.
I guess as a body, we could also say X dollars per grant and cap it. I mean, we haven't had a lot of people ask. There are businesses that could.
I've had one that's asked about it.
Yeah, so.
I don't think we've advertised it real well.
Mm-mm, we haven't.
I
Well,
think
we haven't because
yeah,
we
I
don't
think
have it.
I do, I think if we advertise this correctly and get it out there, I think it will be utilized as it should. We're talking about going back to We've added a tremendous amount of bodies downtown. We better make sure it's a place where people want to be. I think it's extremely important, but back to what Brian said, maybe figuring out the finances first would be more appropriate than putting this in front of them.
Together,
Yeah.
I would agree.
And plus, if there was a couple last year, you know, they kind of fizzle, we don't want to do something, then not get to it, then it fizzles again, then it becomes not good too. So let's make sure we get it out properly and ready for it.
Yep.
I mean, we need to evaluate the economic impact, but I'm fully supportive of the fundamental behind the program. It helps improve the product that we're attempting to sell, and that be downtown.
Yep.
Okay, we'll table it.
We all of a sudden have a full agenda for next month.
Motion to.
You got someone to bring back to council now.
Right?
Do I
Just
need a motion to table it?
Sure. Well, no, I think we can just move it to the next
Just
agenda.
table it?
Yeah.
The reason,
Speaking of the next month, I just noticed on my calendar that I have a conference that I'll be in out of state, so I will not be here, but I'm not necessarily needed. I'll just make sure all the reports are at the ready for Brian.
Chris, you'll be here? Okay,
Will you be here?
I will be here. Mr. Williams.
Won't take the bear out for
Yeah. Month and a half left. He'll be here.
We wear your uniform?
Yeah.
Wear out the park?
Treasurer's report?
I have included in the packet a full year of our financial statements for 2023. And so the end of the year has us with a total of $470,000 in assets. There was no expenditures last few months with the exception of, well, last month with the exception of salaries. Office supplies and contractual services, and I believe the contractual services back in the last couple of months that were reported were related to this discussion with the city attorney's office, the EDA, EDC discussion.
Oh, this is, you took in, this is what's on hand. Taking cash. Is that what you're asking?
Did you have any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
So one, when I say no, then I start talking. What's wrong with me? So just how that breaks down with salary, is it because it's we're authority that the salary comes out? Because when it comes to commissions, how does that work for different salaries from different groups?
Commissions aren't paid.
I think he's asking about the staff
Employees.
salaries.
How does that work?
Oh, for that. I don't believe that's taken out for them.
I think that staff person would be for the authority or the commission.
The EDA will still exist. It'll just, the governing body, whether it be council or whether it be its own entity, is the only thing differing. So the funding would, my understanding,
You s-
different way, Joe?
That's what I'm-
The funding goes away if it's a commission.
No, we still get the EDA funding.
Right, but we're not in charge of it.
No, but I'm saying as far as what's the authority and commissions, how it's,
I think, I'm not the expert here, so I'm doing the best
yeah,
I
well, that's
can.
all we're on.
I think that the authority has levy money coming into it, just as the HRA does, and the general fund, et cetera. Those funding sources are what pay for city services, staff being city service. And so it was decided by someone that those percentages of city staff are appropriate for the EDA to fund. So I was just looking up to see what the
That's what
HRA,
I'm trying to, because, when it's that, there was 135,000 coming out for all these salaries, because it's an ED, because it's an authority. If it's a commission,
the commission's funded, the staff would be funded just like any other staff position would be funded.
would it still be, what would EDA, what would they be? Would it still be the same staff money coming out of that EDA source?
Probably, unless
I
it
think it's
was,
a relevant question, though, if you make the comparison to HRA, when we have
Yeah, that's
Jenny
what I'm trying to
here,
figure out.
I'd be curious if a portion of Jenny's salary is coming out of the HRA, being that just underneath council, but,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have them very often, so it wouldn't be very much.
And I'm of the belief that 25% of a salary is covered under the HRA, covers us out. 25% of a salary.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out the numbers here, because that's part of it too, on the back end of it. What's the difference between the two, as far as, unless I'm,
Are you asking if like the 200,000 we receive would go away if we?
nope, that stays, but
okay.
if it's an authority, do we
Right.
still pay 135,000, if it's the planning, or if it's the council that's doing it, do we still have the $135,000 that are coming out because it's not, because it's underneath the umbrella of the council? Does the salary still come out for it?
I think that the salary composition would not change under the current budget year. And then you would evaluate during the next budget cycle if any portion of salaries would be funded by the EDA, like they are now. So currently, so I just found it's the HRA has half of a full-time employee worth of salaries dedicated to it. So it's 10% city manager, 20% me, 20% admin assistant.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out,
Yeah.
how it breaks differently between that.
And they're
So-
not set amounts. I think the previous city manager is the one that raised that. I don't think they used to be this much.
I'm not sure where the decision-making is in terms of the breakdown by full-time employees. That's probably managed by the city manager and the finance director, and then ultimately decided by city council.
Because when we go to commissions, we still have a person from staff that's at all these things, and now when it comes to authority, now it's, looking at the difference between the amount of money pulled out for each one of them. And we're talking about, if they were some other kind of a position, I just trying to figure out if that money could be, if we go to a commission, does that open money for other things?
I think that staff person follows the authority's budget, and they work for both commission and the authority.
Well, that's just something I'd like to clarify. if that's
Yep,
okay.
yep,
I'm
yep.
just trying to understand the back end numbers.
Sounds like Finance Director Winnick got himself invited to next month's meeting with two topics.
Yep, I appreciate that. Thank you for listening. I'm just trying to figure out my head.
Okay. Staff updates?
I don't
Anything?
have any updates.
Nothing at this time.
Member updates? Mr. Matthews?
Not this time.
Feels good to have the band back together. Other than that, I have nothing.
I think we'll get some candidates and work on that, and we'll meet next month. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by, let's say, Councilmember Cole, moved by Member Cole and Member Matthews.
Williams?
Williams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.